There is no microwave in this house.
Buy a microwave? I don't know, like that doesn't seem like a huge issue. Well, it is not a surprise that American houses have been getting flack worldwide for a long time.
Can you give me a screwdriver, please?
Yeah.
That's the wrong one.
I mean, the running gag is that American houses are built out of cardboard. And of course, there are plenty of videos to back that up. So we're gonna be looking at the quality of European houses and Americans and their reactions to the quality of these European houses and the housing industry in Europe as a whole. Because if we take a brief look at the housing market in America, it is absolutely abominable. Americans are getting ripped off left and right. The country is not really the most ideal place to live in right now, and housing is nothing short of underwhelming. I mean, there's places you're paying hundreds of thousands of dollars, even millions of dollars, that don't even look like they're worth a fraction of the cost. So today we're going to be checking out a lot of European houses and the housing market in Europe and whatnot, and comparing that to the abomination in America. There are some perks I would like to say that exist in America, and we're going to go over those as well. But if you guys have any stories of you actually experiencing living in an American home, even visiting a friend from America and whatnot, and I'm making some observations about the housing situation over there, let me know in the comments down below. And then maybe also some stories from maybe your American buddies that traveled over to Europe and got to see and experience the housing market over there, and maybe the homes over there and the different features, because we all know there are a few things that make every American go bonkers when we travel out there in Europe and we're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this actually exists. And then some things that freak us out because we're like, whoa, we're just not used to that. And if you guys are new to the channel, welcome. If you guys are returning viewers, welcome back. Everybody, I need you to do me a favor and like the video and subscribe if you haven't already.
Comparison between building materials in America and in Italy. Here's the thing, guys, there's a big misconception about the quality of houses between Europe and America. Yes, houses in Europe last longer, but then that's relative. Because the problem of houses in Europe, which are mostly built in concrete, if you look at the newer ones, is that concrete at one point, you cannot really restore it, you need to take it down and build new. I mean, all the bridges that are falling apart in Italy are a very good example. You cannot fix them, you gotta bring them back down and build a new one.
My. That is a very interesting take, because I did think about that. I'm like, there has to be some kind of drawback of having old building material. It seems like for hundreds of years, we've been slandered in America for how abominable our houses are, but the cool thing with our houses is we can build new ones at a moment's notice. But they also collapse and fall apart just as fast as we build them. But in Europe, it seems like the building material does allow you guys to have longevity in your homes, but renovations are probably a little bit more difficult, I would think. I could be completely wrong, but from what this dude is saying, it's gonna be a lot harder to make modifications, and if you were to try to make any major repairs, you might just have to rebuild the whole thing, which is very costly. I would also argue too that isn't it more expensive to build houses in Europe? I mean, they do last astronomically longer than American houses, but I could imagine houses in Europe are probably way more expensive because of that.
But the cool thing is, once you build them, you can leave them as such for a long time. That is the nice power of brick or cement or that kind of stuff. By the way, it seems to me that the cement that the ancient Romans used to use was higher quality. It was literally built to last. There's a lot of buildings that are still standing and still in great structure. There are aqueducts in Rome that are still being used after 2,000 years. That's also why Roman water is so good, because the water runs through stone, not the metal and PEX pipes you have here.
I think one thing we've all kind of established with me doing these videos is I love water. I love water. How does that water taste out there in Rome, running through the rock like that? Because it sounds delicious. I know most of you guys watching this are like, come on, James, it's just water. I love water, okay? I love water. Is that a crime?
But now on to American houses. American houses are built for practicality. Super quick to build, super easy, and they're easy to maintain. That's a big difference. In theory, an American house could last longer than your European one, because if you need to maintain it, you can break the wall, replace the wood, and the house can keep on going. I mean, guys, I worked on structure, I worked on plumbing, I worked in electrical in houses in America, and it's a joke compared to European houses. So they might not look as nice, and they might not be, let's say, as long-lasting if you leave them alone and don't touch them. Because again, wood rots much quicker than concrete. However, one big nice advantage of wood is that you can take it out of the wall and put a new one in. So by maintaining it, because it is maintainable compared to concrete, the house in America could actually potentially last much longer.
Just one tiny little smidgen of a problem. It's expensive, all right? Now, wood should be cheap, very cheap, especially in America. But that's where the issues kind of start to arise. Yes, you're right. Absolutely. It is far easier to maintain a house in America than it is probably in Europe, just because obviously since our houses are so flimsy, and if I were to sneeze, the house would completely collapse. We can replace all of these things with ease. But the problem is the cost of the materials to replace the tarnished structure. Now, you would think since drywall should be really cheap and so should wood and whatnot, but not entirely. You forget. America is rooted in capitalism, so obviously all of those building materials that should be a lot cheaper than what they are they're very costly. Let's say there's a wall that needs to be completely replaced. You're going to have to pay for the material, you're going to have to pay for the installation, and that alone is kind of a scam because they definitely overcharge you for them to put the wall in your house. Now, obviously you can learn to do it yourself, and that's also expensive because all of the tools you need to put the wall up, all of the materials you need to establish the wall in the first place. It's a lot more complex, but he does have a point. Yes, you can technically have an American house last longer than a European house if you can constantly keep up with the routine maintenance and damages that may or may not accrue over time. They're definitely going to accrue over time. It's just going to be very costly. One of the most costly things every American understands, I'm going through this currently, is the costs of roofs, okay? Replacing roofs in America, on average, will cost you around $15,000 to $20,000, all right? Depending on the surface area of the top of your house. And they have to get replaced. You can't go too long without replacing the roof of your house because obviously if it rains or snows or what have you, it will get through the roof of your house and cause more water damage and whatever. Again, this depends on where you are, but it rains pretty much everywhere in the United States, you know what I mean? So these are just little things that add up over time and are very pricey, and as you can see, not a lot of Americans can afford that. So that brings up another very important issue: sustainability. Is it sustainable for Americans to keep their houses up over time, or is it better to just sell and buy another house that's just in better condition? You guys can let me know in the comments down below.
The drawbacks are they all look the same. I mean, it's all copy-paste, so little to no fantasy in the designing. And in a country which has tornadoes, much more susceptible to be destroyed because less robust. So ups and downs, it depends. I love the European design. I mean, this is a house we did in Tarquinia, which I love. It's so beautiful. And I mean, you don't find this kind of stuff in America very normally, very easily. Peace.
A lot of brilliant points brought up in this video. I would definitely, again, like to say that the biggest thing that I am concerned about is the money aspect when it comes to keeping up houses in America versus Europe. Now, while Europe, I'm assuming, I don't know, but from what this gentleman has said, it seems like it would be a much larger pain in the ass to take care of an issue like a major crack in the 1,000-year-old house that you're living in, right? Or like not even just a crack, but let's say there's a just fundamental structural issue that has been the result of weathering over the thousands of years that the house has stood up. And maybe what if you wanted to install some things in the house? Doing that might be a lot more painful and very costly. And in America, since obviously our houses are very flimsy and we have to regularly replace components, walls, and appliances and what have you that just come with the house, it's costly. And as a result, a lot of Americans do not replace the things that they should be replacing just because it's costly. And obviously, at the end of the day, the country is designed around making as much money as possible at the expense of its people. On one side, you have the longevity and everlasting capability of the European home. And on the other side, you have the flimsy, floppy American home with little to no insulation, but seemingly cheap material that you can keep afloat for a while. But that's what I said. The material that should be cheap is actually not cheap, and you do have to buy the material to put and replace the material in your house yourself. But We have comments that we're going to be reviewing, and our first comment says, Roman cement had lime mixed into it, which expands when water gets into cracks when they form. Amazing stuff. What a flex. I'm actually wondering like what other buildings have that, possibly in America. I do know that there are European style buildings, and that's really cool. You get to see them in certain cities and some rural areas and stuff like that. Actually, maybe not even rural, more so city areas have a few buildings that have a European structure. You had Europeans move to America long ago, and these architects brought the same structural designs that they had back in Europe over to America, and then boom, oh my God, like you have some phenomenal buildings. It's very interesting that I didn't know that that was the material that allowed the buildings to stand up for so long. Because in my head, I'm like, what material was the structure of all of those old Roman buildings made of to keep them up for so long? I mean, thousands of years is diabolical. I miss all the free water fountains around Rome. The water was so good, and the Vatican blessed holy water. One can only dream of being able to quench the thirst with the amazing taste of Roman water. That will be a new goal I add to my bucket list.
Do you ever wonder why American houses and European houses are so different?
Can't say that I do.
Well, okay, but there's a lot of differences in the first place, right? Like one of the big ones is that European houses are so much thicker than American ones. And the whole reason for it is very interesting. They're way more expensive.
What?
No, literally everything about being in Europe is significantly more expensive. The building materials, more expensive. The cost of constructing things, generally more expensive.
This is exactly what was mentioned in the previous video. The building material is a lot more expensive, and of course it lasts a lot longer. But of course, again, I had a question earlier. Does that inherently make buying houses in Europe more expensive than the average home in America? Because I was looking at some of the prices to own a home in, for instance, Germany, and they were insane. Okay, the cost was redonkulous, but that's just one country in Europe. I mean, there's so many countries, so many European countries. So in general, are there areas where the houses are more affordable to the people and whatnot to own a home, or is it more common to rent under those pretenses? Now, I am very fully aware that we do not have the best insulation in American houses, which is why we have our AC. I love our AC, man. I feel like I can control the weather at a moment's notice. Summers don't feel miserable, and winters feel absolutely fantastic because we have heaters as well. So I think that's kind of a flex, right?
Heating costs, electric costs, everything for energy, significantly more expensive. So what ends up happening in this scenario, right, is that you have all these houses that are so much thicker and they're built for a very specific reason to retain energy, in most cases heat. Like as an example, you know how in America we have all this all throughout everywhere. This is drywall, right?
Yeah.
Well, you can have drywall that is used in places in Europe, yes. When you go and actually look at the outside, when you look at the walls and you look at the thickness of it, these things are so much thicker over here. Not this 4 or 5 inches, anything like that. No, you'll have foot or greater big, just walls that goes from the outside to the in, with the entire purpose of it being to retain as much heat as possible, because if you turn on the heater and you actually try to heat your home, it will cost 3, 4, 5 times as much as what it does in the United States.
Also, aren't the buildings older? So even before they had to heat that they could turn on, they had to stay warm.
Because before they had anything from air conditioning.
That makes sense. That makes sense. I guess my question was answered for me. That makes a lot of sense. I mean, these buildings are thousands of years old in Europe, and nothing at any point crossed my mind as to how people stayed warm and retained that heat inside of the structures thousands of years ago. So that also begs the question, what were Americans doing thousands of years ago? Well, America is a newer country, so America actually was over in Europe at some point, you feel me? But damn!
Systems before you had modern heating systems, before you had any of it. Specifically, people needed to do whatever they could to maintain, because it is way harder for people to be able to heat a home using simple just coal or a wood fire or anything like that in comparison to the modern day and age.
And it's super funny because it'll be the same temperature in Europe and I am fine in the house, and the temperature here, I'm dying of hypothermia.
Yeah.
I'm literally on death's door.
Also, the problem that comes with though is that it takes significantly longer to be able to build anything, which is why rapid houses and expansion, you're able to build things so much faster in the United States, and houses can spring up out of nowhere.
Dude, this video was a massive eye-opener. Didn't think of any of that. I mean, like, some of it, okay, yeah, obviously the houses were built to retain heat. It makes things a lot more cost efficient when it comes to turning on your heater in European homes versus American homes and whatnot. But again, begs the question, what was the strategy for staying warm in American homes? And like, I guess before AC, like, how do people cool themselves down in the United States? Like that mind-blowing. The insulation demands are written into our building codes along with accessibility and air quality. And of course, I'm pretty sure that user was referring to the building structures in Europe. That's pretty interesting because the insulation in America just don't exist. Now, there are homes that have more insulation than others, but there are some features that I really do appreciate in American homes that you don't really see too much in European homes when it pertains to things that compensate for not having proper insulation. And I always bring it back to the AC. Next comment says, but is it cheaper in the long run? I'm asking because I always see American houses are an absolute fear of termites, for instance. And this is what I'm saying. I do think that because American houses are built so cheaply and whatnot, and we have to regularly keep up with the maintenance on American homes in general because of how cheaply they are made, it is a lot more expensive, I feel like, in the long run if you're trying to maintain an American home versus a European home. And it's just fundamentally because it was not built with the intent to last long. It was built with the intent to make a sale.
Hey guys, we're at a brand new property and we've got a massive amount of issues. So the ground level is too high to the air bricks. We should have a 75mm gap between the air brick and the ground. Here we can see that we're digging for treasure because this air brick was actually completely covered. Look at this, that's absolutely shocking.
I know I heard him right. He said air brick. An air brick. I've never heard that in my entire life. Maybe we have that in America. I've never seen or heard that until this video. What? So we have like basement windows, right? And they're on like the base of houses and depending on where you live in the United States, but air bricks is crazy. Maybe not that crazy. It's used for ventilation, I'm assuming. For what this gentleman just pointed out, the fact that that air brick, which I'm assumed is used for ventilation, is covered by rocks, that's diabolical. And I'm pretty sure if there is any kind of inspection code, it probably violated that.
Shocking. We've got a damaged air brick, loads of the pointing's really poor. Look at this. You'd never spot that repair, would you? Shocking. We've got a random hole in this brick. Check out this garden, guys. It's like a desert. Look at this topsoil. Well, if you could even call it topsoil. Look, it's dry as anything, hard as rock. Shocking. Look, bits of rubble. Nice. Good job, guys. I've just noticed that the guttering hasn't been connected properly. Look at that.
This guy is ripping this property a new one. I'm not sure if he's trying to point out all the flaws before he makes a purchase or all the flaws before he renovates the place or something. Yikes. Also, again, I'm going to keep asking this question. How much does it cost to renovate the average European home? Since they do last a lot longer than American homes. When you think of the word renovation in regards to a European home, do you think of like paying an arm, leg, and a goat sacrifice to make it happen? Do renovations happen all that often? And if so, again, are they very expensive? Because I can only imagine they'd be very expensive. And the first individual we reviewed kind of hinted at that.
We've got fixing covers missing along the top of the canopy. We've got a mastic seal missing along the top of the canopy. The weep vents above the front door are completely blocked with mortar, but they're not fake, so that's something, I guess. We've got a failed mastic seal under this windowsill. There's no fixings in this gutter outlet. We've got fixings missing to this gutter bracket. We got no fixings in the gutter union. The protection on the soffit hasn't been removed. We got some fractured mortar beds and joints left on the side of this window opening, but it's not loose, so that's one thing. We've got another gutter outlet with no fixings in it, and the downpipe's been cut and jointed incorrectly.
One thing I'm noticing about the houses, particularly in the UK, your gutters are plastic. Like, I guess that's kind of genius when you think about it, because there are a ton of rusty metal gutters in America. I'm not sure if that's more effective, if it's annoying. How does that work for you guys? Do you like that? Or is it like, you wish you could go to the metal gutter system as well? It looks pretty effective, but who am I? I'm just a guy observing.
Shocking. We've got a couple of nails sticking through the fencing bearers. Look at this fence. Let's put a level on it. Oh my god, look at this. It's about 2 plums out of plumb. Shocking. Let's test out the gate bolts.
I'm gonna have to get right with you guys' terminology. It's about 2 plums out of plum. Huh? What the hell does that mean? What does that mean?
Yep, that's really good. Look how poorly these keeps have been finished. This is what it's supposed to look like. We've got numerous doors that aren't latching. That's really good. Uneven texture to the paintwork and walls in numerous areas. Numerous areas require patching. Look at this. The bath panel's been installed really poorly.
Hey man, I'm not gonna lie. That bathroom rug is hilarious, bro. Oh my god. It's the details for me.
Look at this. The bath panel's been installed really poorly. Look at this. And we got no fixings along the bottom.
This guy is ripping this house apart. Also, that bathtub does look pretty abominable, man. I ain't gonna lie to you. Someone did a horrible caulking job from the bathtub structure to the wall. I thought it would have been stone or something. They use plastic too out there, I guess.
What's going on there? This will really offend some of you joiners out there. They've mastic sealed the handrail joints on the stairs. Ridiculous. The painter's been a bit cheeky and tried to get away with a little bit of work. Look at this, and the top of the architrave's damaged as well. Oh, look at this. Cheeky little nail sticking under the base rail. Lovely, love it. Oh, the security chain embedded into the wall. We got a hole in the floor near the front door. We've got some water ingress from outside through the front door window.
Damn, I don't know, Chief. He must have found an American-style house out there in Europe, bro, because good God. This can't be like the state of affairs of most European homes, right? I mean, good googly moogly.
Oh, look, you can see the drip. The protection hasn't been removed from above the patio doors. Lovely. And here's a quick tip. If you've moved into a new build property and you've got this style tap, unscrew your filter and check it for debris, because it's always full of bits of plaster, bits of dust, bits of timber. Get that cleaned out. The cleaners should have done it before you moved in, really, but a lot of the time they don't.
Yeah, that was pretty interesting. That was the first house I've seen. I mean, I'm sure there's plenty of houses in Europe that aren't really up to code and are by definition kind of abominable as far as like the state of affairs of conditions they were kept in. But that's like anywhere. There's going to be well put together homes and homes that aren't very well put together because the owners, you know, just didn't take care of the house. But in this case, this is like, it looks like there's a lot of weathering and then a few things that are on the homeowner themselves and stuff, like just not taking care of some things that were in the house, you know, like structural issues and whatnot, and some of the damages to the windows and the banisters and things like that. So that's pretty interesting. But we do have a few comments. Let's go ahead and check out the first one, which says, houses nowadays are just shocking in quality and in size, but yet super expensive. You know what I'm gonna ask, right? How much on average does it cost to live? Specifically in the UK. I should rephrase that. How much does it cost to purchase a home on average in the UK? Now I know UK very vast, you know what I'm saying? So it's gonna vary, but if you were to take the average of all of the UK and put it together and be like, okay, cool, boom, this is the price. Would you say that it's on average more expensive than buying a home in the United States? Do you think the structure, after watching this video, I'm like, I don't know, man, I gotta ask the question, are the structures of British homes similar to American homes? Because it kind of looked like that based on this video. How on earth do builders, construction companies get away with such terrible work? How is it passed? Money, 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 money. Somebody was paid off and there was a lot of lackluster bullshit that it happens everywhere, honestly. America is not the only country that does this. If people can skate by doing the bare minimum, a lot of times that happens, and Europe is not absolved of horrible practices as well in some cases, you know what I mean? So I do think that that's kind of what happened here with this particular house.
There is so much air conditioning in the US.
Listen, I have never, ever, ever in the UK been in a home with air conditioning.
Bro, you're missing out. Listen, let me tell you something. I currently live in South Korea, and guess what they have in every single room? Now in America, they have centralized AC. In Korea, they have AC units in every single room. Every single room. So if I turn on the AC in this room, for instance, it cools just this room, and all the other ACs can be off. But if I leave and I turn this off and I go into a different room, I can turn that AC on. It's wonderful. I love being in a cold house year round. By my choice, by the way. And at least in South Korea, it's not very expensive. It's nice. But I know I get backlash every time I bring that up. Also, we have already talked about the cost of energy in Europe, so I understand why it's not a thing out there. But do you guys have friends or know someone out in Europe that does have an air conditioning unit? And is it seen more as like a privilege or an upscale thing? Like, oh, you have money. You must have money if you have an air conditioning unit in your house.
And I've been in a shop with air conditioning, a restaurant with air conditioning. I've never, ever been in a home in the UK that's got air conditioning, bro.
The difference between American homes and the average European home is mind-boggling. And don't worry, Europeans, I'm fully aware Europe is not a country. The fact that most people over here don't have AC, despite the fact that every single summer, a huge portion of the population, usually older people, because of the heat.
She's cooking. Okay, that's a good point. That's a very good point. But again, I just brought up why I suspect a lot of European homes don't have air conditioning. Again, the cost of energy is astronomically higher out there than it is in the United States. It's just a very different setup out there than it is in the United States. So I do understand that. Now, if I'm wrong, please light me up in the comment section, because I was always curious. One of the biggest complaints I hear about in Europe, right, before I ever visited, was the lack of AC. Like, why do you guys not have AC? And mind you, this was not just coming from Americans. It was coming from other countries that also had AC in their places as well. They're like, okay, like, Europe, what's going on? There's no AC and it's summer. It's hot as hell in here, bro. Like, how do you guys stay cool?
Which to me seems like such a non-developed country's issue, and somehow it is always European countries' issues. But outside of the AC being very limited over here in Europe versus the US, where it seems to be like readily available, and also not considered to be a luxury, whereas I feel like having AC in your home over here is more of a luxury.
Well, that just answered another question of mine. I guess it is a luxury to have an AC unit in your home in Europe. That makes sense. And to my understanding of how much it costs for energy expenditure in Europe in general, it makes a lot of sense. It makes a lot of sense. So I guess that probably would be a telltale sign that you are borderline wealthy if you have AC unit in your home that you use quite regularly.
It seems like the average American can afford to have AC, but then there's also the size. Look at this. The average American home is 2,480 square feet. The average British home is 818 square feet.
Oh, there is also that. I didn't think of that. We do have bigger houses. We do have bigger houses. There's that. That's one thing we do have, all right? I'll take a win where I can take a win.
So you could say that the average American home is about 3 times the size of a average British home. And then you look at other countries, and it's slightly bigger than the UK, but it is nowhere near the size of the average American home.
I think it's safe to say, though, on average, Europeans spend far more time outdoors than people in the United States do. So obviously, maybe the reason why the houses are a lot bigger in the United States is that's primarily where a lot of people are. I wouldn't say most of the time, but a good chunk of the time. I mean, if they're not at work, they're at home. And, you know, they want the homes to be pretty big because they're not out going crazy places, going on walks and doing all these different things, because we have optimized the idea of being within the home where to enjoy every form of entertainment when it comes to watching movies or doing whatever, just within the confines of your home, right? And at least in the United States. And then delivery, right? Delivery services are rampant. And that's also in Europe as well. But I think that maybe, I'm just throwing this out there, I could be wrong, but I do think that maybe the average American does use delivery services far more than the average European. So there's also that too. And that probably adds to the rapidly expanding size of the average American home in comparison to its European counterpart. Now, I could be wrong, and this is just an opinion that I have, but yeah, you let me know how you feel about that in the comments down below. All right, this one was a reach. This one was a huge reach. Those houses she showed that were in America are not no damn $800,000 homes or 800,000 euro homes, okay? Those are definitely like at least $50 million a piece. You will not ever, at least in the United States, find a home that has a pool that big and a structure that wide for anything under $10 million. Anything under that. I don't know where she got that price point from, but good God. Now, the 800,000 euro for the average looking German house, I mean, maybe that's true. There's some truth to that because I have a buddy of mine that bought a house and whatnot, and he said he paid $300,000 for his house. And I was like, oh my God. But it was a very nice place, very spacious and whatnot. But I guess for the same size home in America, it definitely would have been cheaper and whatnot for sure. But the building materials, obviously, and the structure would definitely a lot less quality in America than in Europe. But I have noticed that it is, when I would talk to people about purchasing homes in Germany, right, I did hear that it was a lot more expensive. And if that's true, please let me know in the comments down below. But what she showed for the first few houses, nah, dog, that's not no damn 800,000 euro. That is definitely multiple millions of dollars. Die zweite Villa alleine ist eine der teuersten Villen in der ganzen USA mit einem Marktwert von 150 Millionen. Generell sind alle mehr wert als 800K. Basically, like I was saying, yes, it's far more expensive than the lady leads to believe. Like on the market, way more expensive than 800K per house for what she showed in America. Way more expensive. She could have used a better example for sure. There were definitely better houses that have more space, a lot more amenities and features. Like one thing that I really love about American houses that you just will not see in European houses is closet space, storage space. Like that's a really big thing. Now, I'm not saying all European homes don't have any storage space, but at least when it comes to closets, that's like a rarity. You have to buy the closet separate, which is, I guess, fine, but you would think that the house would cost less if there's not, you know, those extra rooms and whatnot. But then again, it goes back to the building material that was used to build those homes. So I guess I do understand the more expensive price point in Europe, if that is a thing. Isn't the second house actually $200 million? And she responds by saying, wasn't about the house prices, more about the looks. What the hell are you talking about? Because I can find you some really fucked up looking houses, right? That are just fucked up looking houses in America. It was 100% about the price point. That's why you put the dollar amount in the video and showed these American homes versus the German homes. I think the idea was that if you spend $100,000 in America, you get more bang for your buck than $100,000 in Germany. But that all depends on where you live. If you have $100,000, let's say 200,000, let's say euro, 200,000 euro, and you go to Houston, Texas, oh my gosh, you might as well be buying a mansion out there because you will get a lot of bang for your buck. And if you do the same in maybe rural Germany, it might be the same. I don't know. I could be wrong there. But in New York, if you have $200,000 and you're trying to buy a place, well, expect to purchase a home in one of the most dangerous, run-down areas out there in New York City.
Can someone please tell me why all Dutch houses have a door on the second floor that leads to literally nowhere? What even is the purpose of these doors? And why do they build houses like this? This is so confusing.
Very valid question. Why are there doors on the second floor of these houses in the Netherlands? That's insane. There is something that does come to mind though. When I was in Tübingen, Germany, and I was being shown around, we went down this one street that did have doors on the second floor as well.
Like the carriages would come through the street, but like they would run through shit and pee, right? And so that the product that they bring doesn't get spoiled. What they did is they had doors on the top of the building. What the? And then with a not zip line, but like a Seilzug.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
They like pulled up the products to the top. So on the top was the lager, the storage space. Was on the top of the building, and on the bottom there was the storefront.
What the fuck?
So they always went to the top to get the food and everything, and then on the bottom was a storage space where you can buy the things.
That's so cool. Let's get into these comments. They might explain a few things. Our first comment says, in parts of Croatia, it's for exiting the house when there's a lot of snow. Good googly moogly, how much snow are you guys getting out there? That's insane. The purpose is usually for winter months where the snow is so deep you either have to tunnel out or have a door higher up. So it's seeming like that thing that I said earlier might not be the case, but maybe there could be some truth to what I said. But it's seeming like this door is kind of meant for like heavy snow days where you can't get out from the first floor, so you have a door on the second floor, I guess. I would have thought you would have had a balcony or something. Didn't you just fall through the snow and get stuck? You know, because it takes a while for snow to harden. Anyways.
You can lease one of these homes for 96 cents a year, and they're beautiful. It's one of the only things in the world that hasn't been hit by inflation. 500 years ago, a wealthy merchant built these homes so workers on a low salary could live debt-free, costing about 1 month of their pay. But the price hasn't changed ever since, even after 500 years of inflation, and people still live there today for less than $1. But there's a small catch. Each house in the Fugarai has a bedroom, living room, full kitchen, and a bathroom. But on top of paying 96 cents a year, you have to pray 3 times a day. You also have to be Catholic and demonstrate financial need. The gates are locked every night at 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., but that doesn't mean you're stuck inside because you can just pay the night watchman about 50 cents to let you through.
Okay, all right. You guys win. You win. 96 cents a year to live in a place like that is insane. Unfathomable. That's such a cool ideology. I mean, like, you could be in this area, stack so much money, and then leave, and then be essentially very wealthy. Like, living in a place like that, I would try to find the highest paying job possible. I would be squirreling away so much cash, and then when my 8 years were up, I'm out of there. You know what I mean? I would convert to Catholic for the 8 years I'm there. That's insane. And you have to pray 3 times a day. Like, how do they track how often you pray? Is that true? Is that really a thing? Like, do you have to pray 3 times a day? I mean, hey, look, small price to pay, I guess, to live in a place like that for $1. $1. That's insane. I just had a buddy come back from Italy, and he was telling me the same thing, that there are places in Italy where you can just live there for $1 a year. And I'm like, what? That is crazy. There must be like some hidden requirement that they're not talking about, because there's no way that more people aren't flocking over there, taking up all of the open spaces. Also, does that mean that the quality of the places are a little lower since it's only 96 cents a year? Less than $1? Right? That's what I'm saying. I'm like, good God, bro. Less than $1, dog. That's insane. I can't believe that. Less than $1 to live in a nice place. I'm gonna think there's something up, man. There's gotta be a catch. Like, what's the catch? Please let me know in the comments down below, because this sounds like it's too good to be true. I'm not Christian, but I may be turning back now. Listen, for $1 a year, I might be Christian too. Attack on Titan, I'm not gonna lie, that village did look like the village from Attack on Titan. Nordlingen, which I did visit.
This is so fucking cool. Something you literally have to see to believe. Lucas, wasn't this a good call, man?
Oh, this was amazing. I'm in love. Okay, Leute, schau dich das mal an.
Bro, a literal year of me doing research on this place, and I'm actually here, man. This feels unreal,
surreal, probably.
Right? Yeah.
Man.
Like,
I've always wanted to come here. I've never been here. Well.
Yeah, I talked about it in an old video a few years ago, and I'm like, man, when I go to Germany, it'd be nice to visit Nordlingen.
Here are 4 things in this British house that we don't really like being Americans. It's just different from what we're used to. Let me show you.
Oh boy, something tells me this gonna be a little interesting. What we got on the chopping block today, man. What we got on the chopping block. After that UK house we saw earlier that was getting absolutely ripped apart, maybe he's gonna talk about the structural build of the UK home or something like that, because, you know, what we saw earlier in this video was diabolical.
We just made a smoothie with no ice. That's not typical for us. We like a cold smoothie, but it does not exist in this house. They have a freezer, but it doesn't have an ice machine, and you couldn't even put one of those trays to make ice in it.
My first reaction when he said, we usually make smoothies with ice, but since we don't have ice, we have to make smoothies warm. I'm thinking he doesn't have a freezer, but then he says, he has a freezer, but the ice trays don't fit. From what I saw, unless your freezer is maybe a millimeter in depth, you have more than enough space to put some ice in there, sir. You have more than enough space. Make some fucking room, okay? It's not that difficult. You could absolutely get an ice tray that fits. This gotta be rage bait, bro. This gotta be rage bait, because ain't no way. This guy has a whole freezer talking about, we can't put ice trays in our freezer.
Hey, I'm pooping. Turn it on. Alright, I'm not really, but why are the light switches on the outside of all the bathrooms? A lot of the rooms. I just don't understand it. It happened the other day. I accidentally turned the light off while Jenna was doing her business in a dark bathroom.
I was bad.
Okay, that one is like, I don't know. I don't get it. I get it and I don't get it. I was confused too, but it was like the easiest adjustment to make. Easiest adjustment to make.
Sleeping with no air conditioning. I understand why they don't have it, and we've been to places in the US that don't have it as well. But then we have to leave the window open in summertime, so you're subject to all those noises and just varying temperatures that potentially wake you up, especially me who's a hot sleeper, and it doesn't always work well.
Now, I know I'm gonna get lit up in the comments for this, but one big issue that I have, particularly with all of the windows, or most of the windows in Europe, I haven't been to every European country, I've only been to a few, but you guys don't believe in screens, from what I've seen. It seems like from the countries I've been to, I've only been to 3, you don't believe in screens on your windows. So when you do open up your windows, birds don't fly in, or big hornets, or bugs of some sort.
There is no microwave in this house. I don't think I've ever been in a house in the United States of America that doesn't have a microwave.
You're killing me, Smalls. You're killing me. Buy a fucking microwave, bro. Buy a microwave. If it's that big of a deal, buy a microwave. He reminds me of my younger self. Now, my very first apartment I ever got when I was in the United States came with a built-in washer and dryer. And I inherently thought that every apartment that I was gonna get for the rest of my life was gonna automatically at least come with a washer and dryer built in to the apartment that I would move into. That was not the case. And I moved into my first house, like actual house, and not like a condo apartment slash looking thing. And it had washer and dryer connections. So I had to buy my own washer and buy my own dryer. And my jaw dropped to the ground because I'm like, whoa, I didn't budget for that. But it's about $100 for a microwave, bro. Like, buy a microwave? I don't know. Like, that doesn't seem like a huge issue. Almost all of the issues, minus the light switch, seem like personal problems. Easily fixable. I could be crazy though. Let me know in the comments down below. Sir, ice cube trays and microwaves exist. LOL, go buy them. That's what I'm saying. There is no way he's saying he does not have enough space in his freezer for an ice tray. Like, you can buy a small ice tray to put in your freezer. And guess what? If the argument is, oh, like only one small ice tray, you can stack them. I'm pretty sure your mini freezer is like this big, so you can put probably at least 4 or 5 small ice trays in there. It's not rocket science. Everyone has a microwave in the UK. You have to buy them in an appliance shop. I hope he read those damn comments, man, because there's no way this man was saying,
here are 4 things in this British house that we don't really like.
And 4 of those things are self-implemented. Like, if I noticed there was something missing that I would normally want to use, I would just buy it. And it doesn't seem like the issue is, I'm like, okay, like, do they not have a plug outlet in the kitchen for a microwave? Nope, he just didn't buy a microwave. That's it.
Mansions on the
50,
water.
60 million for this?
Yes, it's the Hamptons.
This little house costs $50 million?
Yes, when you pay $50 million, I pay $60 for that house.
Is that a joke?
No. They're beautiful homes. You're on the water.
Do you know how much money? Do you know what kind of house you could buy in France or in Europe for this little house? This looks like a house in Albania.
This is the Hamptons. It's on the water.
This is not 50 million. This is like not even 1 million.
You're right. That one's actually 65 million. Look at the price on it.
You can buy a Chateau for 60 million
These
in
are
Europe.
mansions. These
Bro, he said it's the Hamptons. Like, that's gonna justify the $60 million price tag on a trash can. Like, that's literally what those houses look like. Boxed trash cans, dude. Ain't no fucking way someone's paying $60 million to live in a dump like that. It looks like a bare bones, basic stock foundational idea that you see on like Blender or something when you're trying to make your house or your dream home. There's no way they're paying that much. And I know it's about location. And then also there's this dumb like, okay, if the house next door to you is like $155 million, it's going to drive the price up for all the other houses in the area. You can buy a Chateau. I don't even know what the hell that is, but it gotta look better than what we just saw. Cause ain't no fucking way. 60 mil for this is my exact reaction even as an American, because these homes have zero character and are just blah. If I ever have millions to buy a home, it would be a Chateau. I really gotta lock in with whatever this Chateau thing is, because it sounds like that's the move. Honestly, it sounds like that's the move. What is a Chateau, and is it worth buying if you have millions of dollars? If you had hundreds of millions of dollars, would you buy a house like what you just saw? Like, where would you buy your house if you had hundreds of millions of dollars? Let's say you just had hundreds of millions of dollars at your disposal. Where would your dream house be located and why?
Here in Italy, they overbuild like you have never seen in America. It's unbelievable. If we could use one end full of concrete, they'll use a truckload of it. It's the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life. If the wall is fine this big, they'll make the wall this big. But I'll tell you, come 200 years, the house we build in America will no longer be there. Where these things come 2,000 years later, they'll still be here. So they definitely build forever, and it's a joy to watch. It's hard. It's expensive, but it's amazing.
That must be so cool to say that like you live in a house that your great grandfather built, you know what I mean? And it's still living, it's still up and like fully intact to this day. Like, your house is so old that it's been through 2 world wars and hundreds of major events in history, right? That's insane. That's so cool. And like, your house is essentially a historical monument, and you just get to live there. That's so cool. The houses in Italy slap. I'm not gonna lie, they look so good. This is the reason why with any hurricane or tornado, most houses in the US fall down. Would not happen in Italy or Europe in general. Very, very true. I mean, it's been established that the structural integrity of most American homes, if not all of them, are abominable. Especially in areas that flood all the time. They don't do anything to make the houses even borderline flood proof. They just build more flood susceptible homes that are destroyed even easier, right? Like, after Katrina, they built homes that were probably flimsier than the ones that were destroyed because of the hurricane. Doesn't make any sense to me. It's just stubborn to be stubborn at this point. I live in a building constructed during the Republic of Venice at the end of the 1700s without any concrete. It's a privilege to live in a historic building. I think that's incredible. I also think that if you're able to find out the lore behind the place that you're living in, that's even more insane. Like, you understand when it was built, who built it and whatnot, like the lore surrounding your house and whatnot out there in Europe. It's gotta be fascinating, you know what I mean? Because a lot of times you have people travel far and wide to kind of collect historical pieces and whatnot, and pieces of historical events together. And here you are living in a building that's been around for hundreds, if not thousands of years.
You want to buy a really cheap house in a foreign country, like what I did? You want to live in France? I have 4 things, maybe 5. I may have a 5th in my back pocket. But I definitely have 4 things that you really want to look out for. This applies everywhere, whether you're going to buy in Portugal, Italy, France, Spain. It's all the same. A small village is a small village. Number 1, this is a big one. Whatever experience or knowledge you have about the home buying process and dealing with a realtor in your home country, just throw that out the window.
That's pretty reasonable information. I mean, that's kind of a given too. I do think that the assumption is the process is entirely different based on where you move. I have heard specifically in Germany, the customer service is not too good, but I've also heard that in Europe as a whole, the customer service is not the best either. If I'm wrong, let me know.
Window. In the US, real estate agents really do help you out. You know, you hire an agent and they hold your hand through the entire process. Not in France. In France, you are completely on your own. Like, you don't have like a legit agent that like represents you. You know, it's just not the same thing. So just be prepared to do your own homework and have an inspector on hand before you even find a house that you like. Just assume that the surveys are like total bullshit.
From what it sounds like, they be scamming out there, dude. That's tough. That's crazy. I mean, they scam everywhere, but it does not seem like Europe is the exception either. That is crazy. Oh, wow. You got to be on your toes out there if you buy a house in Europe, man. That's crazy. What was your home purchasing experience like in Europe? Let me know in the comments. Maybe it wasn't as terrifying for you. Maybe it was worse. Please let me know. I mean, obviously for the people that are from Europe, it might not even be that bad, or maybe it is worse than she's letting on to believe. You know what I mean?
Number 2, make a list of requirements, like what services you require. Because there are many times, like I'm sure you've seen all of the advertisements of these great properties that are like literally like $37,000 or so, or euros, and you're like, what, this place looks great, what's the catch, what's the deal with the place? Well, it turns out that home is either in a village that has no services, meaning nothing, like no market, no boulangerie, no post office, no doctor, nothing.
Yo, she is dropping some tea on here, yo. She's dropping bombshells, man. I did not even think about that. This whole time, I'm like, whoa, like, inherently, I'm thinking European houses are going to be way more expensive, right? But in the event that they're not as expensive, I'm like, oh, wow, like, they're so much less expensive than American homes and blah, blah, blah. But I should know, because I'm a homeowner myself, where you purchase your home matters, right? Like, if the price of the home is not very high, it's either because something's wrong with the home or the location, right? Like, you're not next to anything. And in this case, a 37,000 euro home, that should ring alarm bells. Now, obviously you can drive to the next neighborhood over, the next town over to go get access to all of those things. But again, because of the lack of convenience of where you're at, it's going to drive the price down, which makes sense. But then imagine you have issues with your house on top of that. It's 37,000 euro. The bathrooms don't work that well. The plumbing's very dated. Just a whole lot of issues, right? It's going to be hard to get somebody out there to help fix those things. And since it's an old European building, bro, it's going to be real hard to make some physical adjustments to the structure.
Houses. Or the village is in a flood path. That is something that is very common. Have your bare minimum requirements. You know, do you require a bus stop? Do you require a train station within 15 minutes?
All of these gems that she's dropping are actually really good pointers for buying a house anywhere. This is a really solid way of getting exactly what you want, because I do think that for first-time home buyers, what they do is they'll see a few homes and they're like, okay, this looks good, and they don't look at the logistics. Like, I think a lot of people get caught up with the actual house itself and not the surrounding area around the house and the amenities around the home. Like, what neighborhood are you living in? One of the first things I ask about is, what is the crime rate looking like? You know what I mean? How close are you to a shopping market, a super center of some sort, a supermarket? Are there gas stations nearby? Like, are there activities in the local area? Also, random question, do you guys on average have like security systems for your homes? Because I know that's a very common thing in America. Like, they have a lot of home security systems. Like, we have this one company called ADT, and when you open your door, you punch in a code and whatnot to disarm the alarm to your house. Do you guys have that in Europe? I'm assuming you do, but I don't know. Maybe you guys don't. Curious. Let me know in the comments down below.
2,000 people, 4,000 people, because there's a big difference between those sizes. Big difference. Make your list of what your deal breakers are, what you absolutely require. Number 3, the vibe of the village. This is something that didn't cross my mind until I moved into my village. The expat community in France is wild. Some villages have like all German expats, and then another village has all Swedes, and then another village has like a lot of Americans, and then another village has like all Brits. Like this village just right next door has a completely different vibe because that village doesn't have any expats, and so it's just like a sleepy French village, and the majority of the residents are over 70 years old. That is like a reality. So like I lucked out that my village actually is like pretty lively, and it has a good mix of ages, and has like all kinds of expats and a lot of French. I don't know how I was so lucky to actually... I know I haven't done number 4 yet, but this is number 5. Number 5 is, if you do move into a village that has the church bells, you may not want to live right by the church, because I live a nice distance from it.
I can sleep through a nuclear war, bruh. I am a tank when it comes to sleeping, so I don't have that issue. But I will say, church bells are loud as hell. Okay, no matter where you go, they're loud, bro.
Holy moly. Yeah, this is tall as hell, man. Holy shit. Look at what I'm looking at right now. That's the bell.
Oh my gosh, all of the church towers I was able to visit and stuff and climb when I was in Germany, they were loud. I got to hear them all go off, and I'm like, oh, I might have minor tinnitus from those experiences now that I think of it.
Distance from it where I can enjoy it, but it doesn't, because they go off all night long, and they go off 24 hours a day, you know, every half hour. And I rented an Airbnb right by the church last year, and oh my god, the church bells, 3 o'clock in the morning, dang, dang, dang. You're like, what the fuck? Here's number 4. Number 4, don't think that you can survive in a tiny village without a car.
I think that one's a given. Like, that's kind of obvious. I feel like, yeah, you should have a car if you're in a small town in general. Like, that's like anywhere, right? Like, you're going to be far away from a lot of things. So if you're in a small village, have a car. Definitely have a car.
You need a car. You need a car. You need transportation. I've got the Vespa right now, and it's just not even enough. So if you are going to live in a small village and you don't have a car, or you have to go through the whole process of getting a French driver's license, think, well, we can just get by without a car. No, you cannot. You cannot. So you either have to budget for a rental car, or you need to pick a village that has like a bus that comes and goes to the nearest big city every hour on the hour. But at the end of it, you will be a homeowner in a foreign country. It's all possible. You can do it. You can do it.
All right, she dropped a lot of gems. Let's go ahead and check out these comments. The first one says, as far as church bells, I can't even stand to hear a ticking clock. I understand. It is very loud, and if you don't even like the sound of a ticking clock, chances are you're not gonna like the sound of this ridiculously loud bell, bro. I like it, but a lot of people don't. I think France is beautiful, but why does it seem like pleasant customer relations is non-existent? Facts! That's a thing. That's kind of a European stereotype in general, that the customer service is not the best, but I could be wrong. What is your experience with customer service out there in Europe? Is it good? Is it bad? Like, let me know. I know we're gonna have some mixed opinions in the comments, or we might all have the same consensus in the comments.
This is what $220,000 can buy you in Latvia, Eastern or Northern Europe, you call it what you want. 6,000 square feet. Inside needs to be finished, but outside it's a stone-built 6,000 square If you can work remotely, if you're a baby boomer, this video is for you.
Okay, first impressions, looks pretty cool, but after watching that last video, it's probably not around a whole lot of stuff, which is probably why it's at the price point that it is. $220,000 is a lot. I will say I paid $210,000 for my place, and it's significantly smaller than what I see there. And I will say it is located in a really cool spot where it's by a lot of supermarkets and restaurants and whatnot. It doesn't really seem like that's the case for this. So I'm not sure if that price point is worth living around there. That's too expensive for Latvia. Sorry. I'm no expert, but I was kind of thinking the same thing. Our next comment says, for that price, it seems like it's really, really far from big cities because in Riga, not even high-end studio apartments go for $150K. That's what I was also thinking as well. It can't really be around much with a price point like that and the location like that and the place looking the way it did. That heated towel rack is something vicious. I did hear wonderful things about this. This is definitely a huge perk for sure. All right, the AC trope is getting old, bro. It's getting old, we get it. There's no AC. Make your peace with it, man. Okay, the amount of times I've seen friends of mine that live in Germany lock themselves out of their homes because the front door automatically locks was crazy. I'm not gonna lie. I would lock myself out of my house all the time if I, if I lived out there. But very different. I think that would take some adjustments. But the friends that I have that are living in Germany that are actually German themselves, they've done that. I mean, everybody's done it at least once. One of the best things that I've seen in Germany inside the houses were the Rolladen, and I love the fact that they have the outdoor shutters and stuff like that. It makes for the perfect blackout situation. Absolutely love it. I keep seeing in Germany is people have their washer and dryers and they do their laundry typically in their bathrooms or in the kitchen for some reason. And if that's common, let me know in the comments down below, or if that's kind of like off-putting a little bit. It just kind of threw me for a loop because most times, like in my case, my laundry room is directly behind me. It's literally the backdrop. But yeah, I guess like it's just different. That's a little different. Small fridge thing isn't that big of a deal. I feel like that's just personal preference. I eat a lot, but I also eat a lot. So I empty my fridge quite often. So I would need this regardless of how big my fridge was. Dog, the water pressure in Germany is crazy, okay? I was terrified. I'm like, is there a lighter setting or something? Now, I'm used to it, but good googly moogly. Yeah, this is what I was saying earlier. You have to buy your own shelves and extra storage space and stuff. There are storage areas in a lot of European homes, but maybe as far as like an attic goes or an occasional pantry, everything else you have to get out of pocket, which I thought was kind of a bummer. But hey, again, one of those things you just have to get used to. And I think it's like allowing people to have the option to either have more space or less space. Bro, the whole purified water thing, I never really understood that, but it is what it is, I guess. Tap water for life, dog. Tap water for life. Well, Korea, we also separate the trash all the time. That's a thing out here. Everyone has to separate their trash. There are some areas where they're not as strict, but for the most part, you do have to separate your trash. And I think it's like 3 or 4 different types of trash they have out here, I think. It's pretty in depth, and I'm like, oh, I mess that up all the time. Again, with the closet, you have to buy your own closet space. That's the trope. IKEA is your best friend. Get a cheap closet, put it in your apartment, boom, voila, bam. That is exactly how you are going to survive out there. Now, our first comment, as it pertains to this post, says, purified water does nothing for you. You want the minerals. Stilles Wasser is what you want to drink, or just straight up tap water. Yeah, again, I never understood the hype with the whole mineral water thing, but you know, it's a fad that never died. The Germans scrambling to actually you is so funny. Very hilarious, because that is definitely a common German trait. The criticism is going to be a thing for sure. But that is pretty much the end of the video, guys. I know it was a lot longer than my other videos, but learned a lot, learned a whole lot. Europe has a very interesting way of navigating the housing space in regards to how Americans are used to what happens in America and, you know, versus what's happening over in Europe and whatnot. And what I've learned definitely is always come prepared to the nth degree, to the most finite detail. You need to know exactly what you want and, you know, have all your ducks in a row before you even consider buying a property out there in Europe. And then also, as far as the housing goes, learned a lot about the material. I did not know about the lime you know, material being inside of a lot of the Roman structures, which prevented, you know, water damage and whatnot, and allowed for the buildings to be as long lasting as they were. Even like a lot of the fountains and stuff that we see to this day are from that period and have that material in them. And I'm like, oh my God, and lime is very expensive. So, oh my goodness.